Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Man, We're Too Old for This, here on the Nerd Eternal Network. I'm your host, the experience that some call Jason, and with me today is...
CDL-113, the droid you're looking for.
Blurred Dawn of the Ville, the Todd Father.
And the token last in the order, Tarky.
And today we're going to be talking about the end of Loki and the effects that could have on the MCU going forward. Or some people have begun referring to it as the MCM, the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. I personally hope that doesn't catch on, because I don't like the sound of that, but yeah, that's just me. So, Danny, we'll start off with you.
All right.
What do you think the effects are going to be?
Well, other than the obvious that, hey, the end of Loki is going to make it real easy for them to do the what if show and have it go, oh, yeah, this happens. It's their great excuse to bring in all the other characters from all the other movie franchises, and in some way or another be able to slap a label on it. Goes, see, they've always been there. They were just an offshoot that we didn't know about because of the time variant authority. I figure at some point they're going to have one of those multiversal, coming together, joining of, whatever, But I think they kind of set this up or got the idea from it from the Into the Spider-Verse cartoon a couple years ago. And they've been kind of treading water trying to figure out, how can we do this? Loki was their, doorway to it. But I'm looking forward to see what they do with it. Now are there some movies or shows that I'm less enthusiastic about? Yeah, but that's just because I don't care about some of those characters.
All right, Todd, what do you think what do you think they could be up to?
I think the end goal is you will have maybe a phase or so of the war that they kind of hint at, and I think the end result is basically going to be a crisis type event where they can recast all the characters that have basically said, where the actors have said, I won't do this no more. You can add in vampires and mutants, and you end up with basically a movie verse that is a little more like the comic books. I'm figuring that's the end of all this. This is
that it? If not just a hard reboot, at least a soft reboot.
Yeah, well, hell, I think it's going. I think the reboot is going to be pretty substantial because they're going to have to do that to add the Fantastic Four and the X-Men without them having the Eternals question. Where the hell were you during Thanos?
Well, the Fantastic Four, you could always have them show up just new. Because, they were, they get their powers through a transformation, so that could happen anytime. Mutants, yeah, you got to edit them back into the history of stuff.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm figuring that's where that's going, is you'll get some of this kind of stuff introduced, and then they'll coalesce the universe back into something more familiar, but it'll be different. And that, like I said, that difference will let them go, well, that's the reason why Captain America don't look exact. It doesn't erase anything, per se, but that's the reason why Captain America looks a little different. That's the reason why Tony Stark is younger and alive. Because the trick is, if they don't do something like that, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of hope for the MCU. They're gonna have to get them guns back in there because the knockoffs ain't gonna hold them.
Yeah.
Taylor?
I find it super interesting because the way I feel that Disney is going to use the multiverse is the opposite of how they tend to use the multiverse in the comics. So usually, like, multiversal events help you kind of lock a character back to something. Like with DC, with the Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earths. After they did it, they kind of locked in back to one of their Supermen. Like they chose one of they had a bunch of kind of variants and they just chose one and locked it in. They had multiple Flashes and they kind of chose one and locked it in, so on and so forth. With Marvel, how they change characters around and, how many different people have been Captain America, and then you have an event and you go back to the old one.
Yeah.
But here, Disney is doing the exact opposite. They're having a multiversal event so they can change out. So they can go from what is the original and have an excuse to put someone else there, but call them the same name. And I find it super interesting that they think they're going to get like scot-free with this move. Because they're chomping at the bit to not keep those long contracts they've been making. They want to be able to have a more interchangeable cast because it's cheaper for them. If you can slide in the $100,000 actor instead of the million. Oh, sorry, so what?
But it makes better sense story-wise. That was what the MCU talked about in the early days. And they've shown it. They were quick to kind of go, oh, the actor don't want to do this? Okay, fine. We'll get somebody else in there. It's here once it got pretty much over that all of a sudden it's, well, nobody but Chadwick can be T'Challa. That's bullshit. Well, nobody but Chris Evans can be Captain America. That's bullshit. Captain America's, 80 fucking years old? You got a million damn stories to tell. Chris Evans was never going to be the person to tell all them stories. And the trick is, if you don't put in another Steve Rogers, there's a whole lot of stuff you leaving on the table.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect movie example of you can change the actor without changing, the character is 007. Think about how many actors have played 007, whether it be in the movies or a made-for-TV movie. You go back when I was a little kid, there were 3 007s coming up when I was a kid. Now, as an adult, there's 6 of them?
Yeah, it's quite a. I know I lived under Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, and Craig. So I've been through 4.
Yeah, but by the time we got those 4, we had already had Lazenby and Connery and Nivens, because Nivens is in a movie, made for TV movie. So that's 7 right there. So, and then when you have Bond stories in the comic books, different folks draw him different. So you can't say it can't work because it does.
Well, James Bond was actually a character I think they name dropped when they were talking about it. We're going to do these characters like James Bond.
Yeah, that was the original kind of thing. They were quick to kind of let you know that, our characters are eternal. Playing them?
Yeah. And they got away from that a little bit by locking folks in for these big movies, but it's like...
Well, also, it's because the audience wants the person to be the same. So you're going to aim for that. But now with the multiverse, you're literally like advertising, having a whole movie telling people and trying to make them excited for change outs.
Yeah.
And if Disney can spin that right, then they get a lot cheaper actors and no one's really that pissed off.
Well, as long as they keep the quality there, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem you have with a lot of folks getting locked in of, it has to be this actor. Well, you know what? Let's say you sign a dude at 25 to play Captain America, okay? And it takes, 2.5 years to get a movie made by the time you start from production to time it rolls out in the theater?
Evans been Captain America a decade.
Yeah. So let's say he stars in 5 movies. 5 movies, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then add the halves. You're looking at 15 years of his life. That dude ain't 25 no more.
Well, I mean, obviously that's some bad math because he's been Captain America in more than 5 movies, and he's only been 10 years. Like saying 2.5 years to make a movie, that's not the acting section of it.
Yeah, that's not the acting, but still,
You
like
do the
okay,
acting section of that in like a year. You wrap it and then you start on the next one because you're locked in for 7 movies.
yeah, and that's what they did.
Evan's actual complaint was when they were doing press for Endgame, he was like, "I'm kind of glad that it's over because I'm tired of being in shape. I'm tired of eating like I have to eat and working out like I have to work out to be in shape for this all the time."
Because they just rolled him from one to the next.
Yeah. Because they shot those damn near just back to back to back to back to back to back. It was I know there's one thing where it's him and Mackie and Stan where they talk about being in the MCU is like being in summer camp. Every summer you show up, all your friends are there. That, like I said, and that was even Evans in the beginning. He was the one that was always kind of shaky on basically going, hell, I want to commit this much of my life to one project. Evans actually kind of got on board once they did Avengers. And then it was like, oh, it's fun. But up until then, Evans was always kind of one like, I don't want to do all these damn things.
Yeah.
Well, also after Avengers, it's kind of locked in of like, I retire off this.
Yeah.
100%, I could just retire and do whatever I want to do after this.
Yeah, as much money as they made from the...
He was making crap. Downey, literally between Avengers and that next phase, took a pay cut because Downey was the only one that was making real money off of any of that shit.
Yeah.
They had deals where they were making those early, like him and Hemsworth, the first Thor, the first Cap. I think they made $200,000, and then they had a tier goal basically that if the movie did a certain amount, they'd get a bonus. But nah, hell, they got all of them for dirt cheap. That was hell. They almost lost Sam Jackson because they were lowballing him, and the way they got around that was they gave him his huge. He was the one that had the biggest contract deal until Stan came along, and then Stan got a huge one. But yeah, no, they wouldn't. Downey Jr. was making bank. Everybody else was making. It's more than if you working at the A&P, but it wasn't. They wasn't making. They didn't come away from Avengers with like millions of dollars and no shit like that.
No, but after Avengers, you went, oh, these are all going to do well. Like, this is always going to be guaranteed.
And they've got residuals that they'll be getting for the rest of their lives off these movies. So
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It's not like they're not going to see another dime from these things because every time they air on TV, somebody getting paid.
Yeah, all I'm saying is if you're talking about out of that cast that made bank, real bank, that's Robert Downey Jr. Everybody else did nice, but they wasn't making.
Well, going into it, he was the biggest name they had.
But I'd like to cut this off because we're starting to trail off. But gathering back to, but because that Disney can now hit a bunch of people up going, hey, it's guaranteed you're gonna blow up. And start lowballing actors all they want.
That's true, especially they go for like no-namers like they did. Like a lot of these characters were. I mean, or actors.
Whoa. Chris Evans was the Human Torch. Calm down.
Yeah, well, Evans, Scarlett, Downey, of course. They all had careers kind of before this where, Hemsworth was fairly new.
He was fairly new to the American audience. He had done some stuff overseas.
Americans don't count that.
And the trick is, even if they got the deals that second tier got, Tom Holland, Chadwick Boseman, Benedict Cumberbatch all came in at like it's either $6 million. They either got $6 million or $10 million. It was something like that. I want to say Chadwick got like $10 million for 5 movies. It's cheaper than Robert Downey Jr. getting 80-some million for Avengers, but hell, if somebody gave me $10 million for that, hell, I'm happy as
Yeah.
kid in Toys R Us.
Worked for 5 years for $10 million. Like, that's $2 million a year. I'm sold.
Yeah. So, if you say you get new actors and they come in and they get the standard, hey, you just coming in the MCU deal. Hell, if they don't want it, I'll take it.
Yeah, really. I'll play the Fabulous Four Brush Man for
Shit,
$1 million.
The Amazing Bagman. But yeah, but I literally think that's what all this. I think the whole multiverse thing is basically them setting up their crisis event. I think their crisis event is going to take the place of kind of like your Endgame, your Avengers movies. You will have your multiversal war, and when it all wraps up, you'll have another universe. It'll be some kind of blend of something.
Yeah.
And
do you think they'll have multiple Kangs running around? Or will the guys in our, kind of quote unquote our universe just be done with one?
Hell, who knows? Because if you look at the Loki thing, that was the whole thing. It was all Kangs starting the war. Each universe's Kang was trying to wipe out another universe. So it would stand to reason that you go probably, and the fact that hell, your first one that you run into is He Who Remains. Yeah, you get the impression that it's gonna be hymns. It's the hymns you got to worry about. Now, will there be a hymn when it's all said and done? Who in the hell knows? Maybe, maybe not. But because the MCU kind of likes killing their bad guys.
Yeah.
Kind of like they did He Who Remains. So,
I'm also going to be a bit mad if all the Kangs look the same.
It's probably like the Lokis.
Yeah, but like with the
Well,
Lokis, there was a decent amount of variation.
You'll probably have a decent amount of variation with the gangs.
You think you're going to have one Kang that looks like the classic one, but real shitty?
Probably.
Yeah.
And somehow he's still going to be the coolest one?
What
I don't know, because Majors chews up scenery like it's going out of style. The coolest one, I don't know about all that. I think you'll have one that looks like he looks in the comic book.
One of the things I'm looking forward to see if they do is, since you've had Evans play the Human Torch, you've had him play Captain America, and now he's Old Man Steve. Back.
You can see all of them.
I want to see all three of them on the screen in one movie, or across a set of movies, and it's him playing though. Because it'd be like, and then you have the Fantastic Four where you had the black dude play.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
so you'd have Killmonger as Johnny Storm.
Yeah, so have that up there, and you're kind of like, but it'd be one of those Spider-Verse moments where it's like, well, you don't look in Spider-Ham over there like,
well, you cameo it.
Yeah,
if you did it, they cameo it.
I kind of now want to see Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, Old Man Rogers, and Johnny Storm all beating the crap out of Hydra Cap.
Yeah,
just in a panel in the background, they're just all just kicking him on the ground.
But cameos are probably the best you'd get out of Evans. Because, while he's enjoyed doing it from the sound of things, I think he's pretty well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Disney could throw money at him, but,
But he's actually one of them that said that, hell, if Disney threw money at him, he wouldn't do it. Because that was his thing. He was like, I'm not if they told me a story that would make me basically go, well, it's enough that I want to kind of turn over what I've done, I do it. He said, I'm not interested in doing it for a cash grab.
Well, and from Disney's point of view, I don't know that they want to drag the older actors into this if the point of it is to swap them out.
Replace them. Because that's it. That's my thing is they are literally doing that to work in mutants and to get some replacements because they kind of screwed up.
Well, if you're going to keep doing this, you are going to need a new Nick Fury at some point.
Yeah, because Sam Jackson's in his 70s.
Well, and the trick is, once you establish that we're recasting these guys periodically, like with James Bond,
the audience will get used to it.
Yeah, once you've done it the first time, the second time you ain't got to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
after that initial one, yeah, you can just kind of do them as needed. Now, as far as working in other stuff, like working in the vampires, working in the mutants, my hope would be that they'd make something that's more like the comic book universe. But my fear is that they'll go even further and further kind of astray.
Yeah. Vampires did get a shout out in Loki.
Yeah. Well, they got two shout outs because he talked about vampires, and when Loki opens that drawer in that thing, there's a cross and then a medal. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the medal you always see Dracula wearing on his chest in the old school Tomb of Dracula.
Ooh, I have to go back and check that.
Yeah, I had to go back and look. But yeah, that's like I said, I'm figuring that's the whole thing. And you needed another bad guy, and the bad guy needed to be different from Thanos.
And having a guy that bridges dimensions and universes, it fits.
And it gives you another Thanos.
Yeah.
It's this one's moral ambiguity is actually something you have to consider.
Yeah.
Was he actually a villain? Because he was trying to maintain a peaceful version of the universe.
Yeah.
So was he evil? This one asking was he evil is actually a question and not an idiot.
Yeah. Where you have to stretch. Well, he was just trying to do this for resources. He had infinite power just to create infinite resources.
Yeah. This one makes a little more sense in the aspect of it being
Still not a whole lot. We're gonna wipe out these entire universes and leave these people to die on this planet. Wouldn't it be easier just to go back and I don't know, prune yourself as a child rather than wipe out these parallel universes full of children?
It depends on how screwed up that universe went.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, also, you'd still have to continue to prune every universe that has a variation that still results in you.
Unless you just hop ahead to when you were born and, bust a cap in.
Yeah, but then
there's still going to be variations behind that create a path to Kang being born.
Well, you still have to create a TVA that's ageless and just keeps doing this stuff forever. I mean, that's still a thing, I guess.
Then it's the same. You're still just pruning timelines that result in you.
No, you're just pruning the you out of them. Just go.
But then there's a variation behind that could loop back around to making a version of you that's not from the same parent.
Only if you decide to write time travel that way.
No, but I think Tarky's hitting the nail on the head. I think that's what he was doing. I think he was literally pruning timelines that resulted in him. Yeah, because that was the whole thing. Is when Sylvie kills him, he's like, "Oh well, see you soon."
And also, the thing was, there's an alternate timeline. Oh, it's getting close to the red line. That red line is probably when it guarantees a Kang will be born. So you prune them before they touch that line.
I also wonder if we won't find out that there were already other Kangs operating, outside the sacred timeline. If he was basically walling off a section that he lived in.
Awesome.
Because at the end of Loki, spoilers, he pops into this other TVA based around Kang that's, already fully formed and, like it's already been going for a while. So I almost wonder if you had individual Kangs kind of fortify in their little universes or whatever.
Yeah. That's a good possibility.
Who knows? Because it's looking like Kang and that's going to be a Nexus being. I have not read them online, but they are saying that end kind of ties in with WandaVision too. I don't know, but like I said, I haven't read it, so I don't know where the hell they're going with it. I know Wanda's a Nexus being in the comic books, so.
Now, and as far as them, adjusting the universe to be a little more comic, I noticed in Loki, they talk about his magic just being magic a lot more often.
Yep. And he realizes after he sees the old one, he's like, we're a lot more powerful than we've been doing. And, the comic accurate looking Loki, hell, that bastard was teleporting and all kinds of crap.
Teleporting and leaving copies of himself behind fighting people that,
Well, that's just illusion. Loki's been doing illusions. That's not That's not
he
new.
illusioned
Teleport
he
is
illusioned
new.
a large chunk of Asgard in one go.
Yeah.
When you can illusion a city state, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
That's doing better than Loki's done up to that point.
That was not a new Loki power. Illusion is not a new Loki power. The teleporting was new.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like in that one little base area, he creates a fake version of him when he's walking off over here. His illusion was firing beams and bolts that was affecting people.
Oh, it looked like it was affecting.
Yeah, look, but you know,
The people could have been illusions too. It could have just been one big
Keep
illusion.
in mind, earlier in the series, you had Loki explain the difference between just illusion and that duplication thing he did.
Yeah, that is right.
You know, he explains it. No, that's two different powers. Oh, okay, noted. Thank you, Professor Loki.
But yeah, that the takeaway from that was him watching the old and going, yeah, because he literally says that to Sylvie. We're more powerful than we realize. So that that was a nice little thing of the MCU kind of lowballing character.
yeah.
And if you notice at the end when they're with He Who Remains, Loki's teleporting.
Yeah.
He's not doing the smoky green door like the comic one was, but he literally teleports in front of Sylvie and blocks a sword.
So hopefully they'll get some of the characters to their proper power level in this reshuffle.
It would be nice. Like I said, I would enjoy. It's the MCU. I don't have the faith in them that I used to. They could still fuck it up, but it would be nice to have something that was a little more power level, a little more appropriate. Maybe the look a little closer. Definitely not the Party City looking shit that they do every time they put something from the comic book in there. But at least try to make them look something like the comic. Would be appreciated.
Let's see. Well, to wrap up, what are you most, in this rearranging of the universe they're probably about to do, what are you most hoping they do? What are you looking for the most out of it?
I'd say X-Men, just because, I'd like to see an Avengers team with Wolverine. Because that's just kind of a thing I always saw during my time growing up. But, I would like to see kind of the more oddball Avengers teams come out of this.
Okay.
Like the Wolverine, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man kind of thing, where it's there's maybe one founding member in the team, and that's it.
All right. Danny?
I would like to see the cameos of, say they cast, new actor or actress for this part. I'd like to see the cameo of the other actors and or actresses that have played that part at some point, whether they pop in as, they're the parents, or they're sitting at a diner eating, they see them go by battle. I want to see those little, nods to the past, nodding to the present, and looking towards the future,
Okay. And Todd?
Hulk thing fight.
Ooh.
It's literally all I've wanted since you had a live action Hulk and a live action thing somewhere. I want a Hulk thing fight. That's truthfully the only thing left on my MCU bucket list that I haven't seen, because I finally heard Avengers Assemble after 10 years. I've seen a Hulk Thor fight. I've seen a Hulk Buster Hulk fight. I take it right back. There's two. I like to see a Hulk thing fight. I like to see a Hulk Wolverine fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would kill to see the Wendigo. The Wendigo is not something I ever think will show up in an MCU movie.
They'd have to tone him down.
And then it ain't the Wendigo.
Hey, if they can have vampires killing people, draining blood, they can have a
Whoa. They'll be draining plasma, please?
Yeah. And they may be doing it from their hands.
That was the old cartoon. The trick is, vampires feeding on somebody is a little less graphic than just a flat out, Wendigo's cannibalism.
What happened? The Wendigo ripped that person apart and ate him. Oh.
Well, if Disney can get by with the man shark swallowing a person.
That's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers don't give
Turn in your geek card.
I'm just saying, they have a movie with a character shark eating somebody.
I will take his geek card and shred it appropriately.
You mean in the Snyderverse?
I'm using it.
Which dedicatedly tells you
I'm just using that as an example. Okay.
I like Tarky. It's the Snyderverse. No.
You're lucky Superman isn't eating people in the Snyderverse.
Oh,
That's true.
Who say he doesn't? If that was a Snyderverse, he wouldn't have been eating a full-grown adult. He would have been picking up a group of school children and eating them. Okay.
Yes, literally the Snyderverse, dude.
Yeah, that
Suicide Squad still in that same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to see out of it is I'd like to see him scrape off the last of the, Ultimate Marvel stuff. Because the early MCU, almost every problem I had with it, you could trace it back to the old Ultimates comics.
That's true.
So I would like to see them scrape that off and get something a little more mainstream, 616 MCU. I just don't really have the faith in them to do it.
Tricky as hell. You'd want the 616 that you grew up with, because trust me, Ultimates is wonderful compared to the book now.
Maybe fair.
The thing is, I don't want them current. If I got to go through basically the Ultimate versions again, I will gleefully go through the Ultimate versions than the current version. That's I don't want the X-Men on a living island that's separatist and kind of racist and kind of genocidal, and I don't want all that.
That's fair.
What's so that? I've been right there with you.
So anyway, if any of y'all listening to this or watching this later, if you think there's some points we missed or something you wish we'd brought up or something you've thought of, feel free to leave it for us in a comment. We can also be reached at thenerdeternal@gmail.com, thenerdeternal.com. You can keep up with everything we're doing there. You can find us on Facebook. If you'd like to support the show, we have a shop.
We have a surprising amount of handbags.
You could also just, like, subscribe,
share.
Yes, sharing is very good. Anything like that, we deeply appreciate it. Until then, I guess we'll see you next time. I've been your host, the experienced some call Jason, and with me today has been
CDO113, the droid you're looking for,
the Todd Father,
and the token millennial, Tarky.
And we'll see y'all next time.